Any distinguishing marks on his body?
Oh, yes. He has a mole on his right shoulder blade.
His right shoulder blade.
Hi, Sam. This is Mrs. Wilcox. This is Mr. Benedict.
How do you do, Mrs. Wilcox? I got the district attorney out of bed and talked the situation over with him. As soon as Harry has the writ finished here, I'll contact the judge and have him sign it.
How soon will my son be out of jail?
Oh, I think he'll be out of jail in a couple of hours. Have you talked with the police?
Yes, Lieutenant Raddick is handling the case.
Right.
Let me get you some more coffee.
Oh, yes.
Sam?
Thank you.
No. How you doing, Harry?
We're progressing apace, Sam. We're progressing.
Can't you make him hurry?
I'm only flesh and blood, lady, not some kind of brainiac.
Larry is so quiet and sensitive. The thought of him locked up with all those hoodlums simply panics me.
Who's handling it for the DA?
Marty Rhodes. Oh, come on, Harry. You've got more than two fingers. Use them, will you?
Okay. This is what I've got so far. Wilcox, Lawrence H., arrested 2:10 a.m. this date. Held at City Jail, San Francisco, County of San Francisco, California. Booking number 568712. Male, 21 years old, 5'10 and a half. 165 pounds, white, brown, blue, fair, large mole, right shoulder blade, no prior arrests. Harry's. Sure, just a minute. It's the DA's office.
This is Hank Tabor.
Now the charge. Assault with a deadly weapon, assault with intent to commit murder.
That is absurd. My son simply could not do such things.
When?
Find out how much bail they're gonna want.
Sam,
Okay, Marty, go ahead.
the situation's changed, Mrs. Wilcox.
Okay, Marty. But this boy is no hoodlum. He comes from a good family. I want him treated with absolute fairness. Right. Mrs. Wilcox, the man your son shot died a few minutes ago in General Hospital. We have a murder case on our hands now.
No bail for murder.
Oh, dear God, no.
Sorry, Mr. Benedict, you'll have to wait.
You get on the phone, tell the lieutenant. I don't want my client answering any questions until I've had a chance to apprise him of his rights.
May I talk to him?
Sure.
I'm sure there's some mistake about all this. The witnesses are lying. It just couldn't possibly be.
Look around you, Mrs. Wilcox. This is a very real place. Illusions won't help. Try to remember that.
Oh, but Mr. Benedict, I've faced reality for the last 15 years, ever since my husband died. I've managed to make a success of the family business. I've given Larry a fine home and put him through college. I do know one or two things about this world, and I know my son. And I tell you, he couldn't possibly have done this awful thing.
Whether he did or didn't is something that'll be decided in court. The hardest thing about any of this is getting used to the situation.
Who was this man they say he killed?
Edward Branton. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe you haven't. He's quite a prominent man from quite a prominent family.
Come in now, please.
Hank, get a hold of Marty Rhodes. See if you can find out if they're talking indictment or information on this one.
All right.
Here we go. Hi, Lieutenant. Morning, Sam. Hi, fellas.
I got your message. No need to get fussy about the questions. I have to clear up a few details.
So do I. Lieutenant, this is Mrs. Wilcox, Lieutenant Raddick.
Ma'am?
I'd like to have a look at the police arrest report.
Can't do it this time, Sam. I'll have to ask you to get a court order to see it. They won't let me cut any corners on this one. Open it up.
What's the matter, Mr. Benedict?
I don't know.
Larry?
Mom, I'm sorry all this happened.
Are you all right, darling? Are you all right?
Oh, Mom, I'm fine. I'm fine.
What's the matter, darling? They haven't hurt you, have they?
No. It's just this room. It seems like something out of Dickens. I don't know where they get the air they give you to breathe.
I'm Sam Benedict, son.
Oh, Mr. Benedict knows you couldn't break into somebody's house with
Mom,
a gun.
I did!
Oh, Larry. I've done everything for him. I've given him every advantage. How can a thing like this
Please
happen?
cut it out, Mom. I'm all in one piece. You see me now. Why don't you go home?
Oh, I want to stay. I want to help.
But you can't help. See, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing he can do. There's nothing anybody can do. I'm finished, Mom.
You're just a baby.
Oh.
Mrs. Wilcox, I think you'd better go now and let me talk to Larry for a few minutes.
Oh, help him, please, Mr. Benedict. Help him.
Mom, please don't do that, please. Go home. Just go home.
Come on, Mrs. Wilcox. You better go and get some rest.
I couldn't do that. I'll wait for you.
All right. Just speak to the officer at the gate. He'll let you through. Wait for me.
Mothers are like that, especially when they're upset.
Lieutenant Raddick is upset, and he isn't your mother.
Who's he?
The man you just spoke with? The officer in charge of the case?
I'll answer all these questions. What's he so hard-nosed about?
What did you tell Lieutenant Raddick?
Well, I explained how it was, this robbery. Sudden impulse. I was driving around feeling rotten and restless. I saw this house and I went in.
Go on.
Well, I was inside looking around and this man came in. I tried to scare him off with a gun and the gun went off and I ran.
Where did you get the gun?
Found it.
Just like that? All loaded and ready to shoot? All right, where did you find it?
Park.
Where?
In the park.
When?
About 12 o'clock. That's what gave me the idea to steal something.
What else did you tell Lieutenant Raddick?
I told him what I took from the house.
Tell me.
An ashtray and some cash from the desk.
Did you tell him what you did with those things?
I threw him in the storm drain along with the gun.
Did he show any interest in any special point?
Yeah, about how I broke into the house.
How did you break into the house?
The study window, it was unlocked.
Any other point?
Yeah, about where I threw the stuff that I stole. The storm drain, I told him where that was. Oh, yeah, then he asked me to describe the gun.
Did he ask you how you happened to find a gun, how you happened to pick that house, how you happened to throw away all the things that you found?
No.
Well, I'm the fellow who's going to make it easy for Lieutenant Raddick because I'm going to ask you those things, and sooner or later, one way or another, I'm going to find out the truth. I'm going to find out what you did and why you did it. Now, your story won't hold with me, and it won't hold with anybody else. How much of it is true? Any part of it?
All of it.
I told you I don't believe your story.
I don't care whether you believe my story or not. This is a first offense. It was a spur-of-the-moment impulse, and all I took was a few dollars.
And all you killed was one man. 6 hours ago, Edward Branton was walking around the city of San Francisco, a respected member of this community. Now he's lying downstairs in a box with a tag tied to his toe, and you put him there. And they're going to want to put you in the gas chamber because of it. Now, you've got some funny ideas about what I do and why I'm here. I came here to try to keep you out of a jail cell. Now it's going to be my job to keep you out of the gas chamber.
The gas?
Yes, that one over in San Quentin. This is a capital offense.
Well, it was an accident. I didn't mean to kill him.
You went into the house, you pointed a gun at him, and you threatened to kill him.
No, he threatened to kill me. It was his gun.
His gun? Well, that's one lie that Lieutenant Raddick will certainly know about.
I'm scared. Mr. Benedict, I'm scared.
Why did you go to that house?
I went to see Mr. Bratton. I wanted to talk to him.
What about?
Diane.
Huh?
My girl, Mr. Benedict.
Mr. Branton's daughter?
No. No, not one of his daughters. They're both married. So are his sons. No, I went to talk to him about my girl and him.
Who is your girl?
Diane Langley.
Tell me about her.
Well, she worked for Mr. Bratton for about 6 weeks last summer when his secretary went on a trip around the world or something. He took her out every place to eat. He bought her things. What do you think of that? An old man like that chasing my girl around. I mean, she's 20 years old and he's got grandchildren. Well, I went out there tonight to tell him to cut it out. Because Diane means more to me than she ever will to him. We had something special. Something lyrical until he came along. Go ahead, give me the laugh.
There's nothing to laugh about. I'm not laughing, son.
Well, he laughed. Right in my face. He was a big man. He said it was a case of arrested development that I could go out and find me a girl. He didn't mean a girl to love. He meant a girl like for the night. Well, I knew his wife was in Tahoe. And I told him that I was going to phone her unless he cut it out. But I got to him. And he reached in that desk and he pulled out the gun. And he said he was going to blow my head off. Well, we fought for it. The gun went off, and the next thing I know, he was lying on the floor yelling for a doctor.
You fired that gun?
Yeah, I fired it. I couldn't stop firing.
What did you do after you shot him?
I ran out. Then I came back in and I tried to look at him, but I couldn't. Then I grabbed what I could and I ran away.
The money and the silver ashtray?
Yeah.
And you threw them into the storm drain along with the gun?
Yeah, then I drove away. Finally, I ran into a prowl car and I turned myself in. The officers called an ambulance and took me down and booked me. That's it. That's all of it.
Why did you try to make it look like a robbery?
I thought I could get away with it.
How long did you have that gun in your hands before you fired it?
1, 2 seconds. What's gonna happen to me?
Any luck with Marty Rhodes?
He's in his office, Sam, but I couldn't get through to him.
He told you it was a mistake?
He told me all the truth, Mrs. Wilcox. Come on.
But surely the truth isn't what he was saying in there.
Well, he knows the truth better than anyone. And that's all we have to work with. Hey, Marty, we've been trying to get you.
Oh, sorry, Sam. I couldn't take any calls.
Is this Mr. Sam Benedict?
This is Mrs. Brandon, Sam. Mr. Brent.
How do you do? I'm sorry about your husband, Mrs. Brandon.
I don't know whether you are or not, Mr. Benedict. Mr. Rhodes told me that you represent the young thug that killed him. And I've heard about your skill in court and your attitude toward capital punishment. I sincerely shared that attitude with you until just a few hours ago. Now I pray that you may lose all your cleverness in this matter and that you may be defeated all the way, Mr. Benedict, and that I'll be invited there when they put him to death for killing the finest man that ever walked on this earth.
Mother. Tomorrow, Sam.
The people of the state of California versus Lawrence Harold Wilcox in the municipal court of the state of California. In and for the city and county of San Francisco. The district attorney of this county hereby accuses Lawrence Harold Wilcox of a felony, to wit, murder. In that on or about the 16th day of November of this year in this city and county, you did unlawfully, with malice aforethought, murder Edward Robert Branton. Lawrence Harold Wilcox, how do you plead?
I interpose a plea of not guilty, Your Honor, and suggest 1 week for a preliminary hearing in this matter.
Very well, Mr. Benedict. 1 week from today, 10 o'clock.
Agreeable.
I asked your mother not to come here this morning. I thought it'd be hard on her. I thought it'd be hard on you.
You ought to just tell her I never existed.
You're all she has, son.
If you see Diane, tell her I said hello.
Line number 22, People versus Gloria King.
I don't envy you, Sam, but I don't envy myself either. I'm going to ask a jury for that boy's life.
You're not going to get it, Marty.
I'm glad it's you defending him, Sam. I really am.
Oh, hi, Hank.
Good morning, Mr. Benedict.
Morning.
Oh, Ben Hobbs called 4 times. He wants to...
Yeah, I know. He wants to interview Larry Wilcox. Tell him no. Tell him no comment as yet. That's exactly what you tell him the next time he called. Where's that court order? Thank you. Tell this fellow to stop payment on the check. We'll see what happens. This guy's a chiseler.
Garfield 10713.
I'll go to the cocktail party if I can find time. If I can, tell him to please understand.
Yes, sir. Just a moment, I'll see. Arnold Ritchie from Los Angeles.
Has he got a heat on?
Sounds like it.
Tell him I just left.
Did you get any sleep?
Oh, a couple of hours.
The girl's full name is Diane Gloria Langley, 1424 Anna Lane, apartment B. She's from Fresno, lived in San Francisco about 1.5 years. No college. She's been to business school for 1 year.
Did you talk to her?
No, I phoned her and I went out there. She wasn't at home.
Send her a telegram. See if you can get her in here sometime today.
Right.
Look, Bert Haskell can't afford to give away $8,000 mink coats. Handle that and good luck. Huh?
Yes. Trudy, get me the file on this one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Hello, is Miss Rita Bain in, please? This is Henry Tabor. I'm calling on behalf of Haskell Furs. I've been asked to, well, now. Sorry, Miss Bain has gone to Bermuda for the rest of the season.
Some people have all the luck.
I heard Miss Bain telling her maid what to say to me. Keep the iodine ready, Trudy. I'm going to see a tiger.
Mr. Tabor.
Whoops, tigress.
Rupert, darling, heel. 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 Heel.
Miss Bain?
That's right.
Good morning. How was Bermuda?
I beg your pardon.
I'm Henry Tabor. I tried to reach you by phone about that mink coat.
I'm sorry. I don't know what you're talking about. Rupert, darling, heel. Come on, baby. Come on. No.
I'm referring to a full-length black diamond ranch mink coat you obtained from Haskell Furs on approval 4 months ago.
It was not on approval. As I've explained 6 times to 6 different people on the telephone. The coat was purchased for me by Mr. Perry Lewis. It was a gift, and I intend to keep it.
Mr. Lewis has asked Haskell Furs to repossess the coat. I represent Haskell Furs.
Rupert represents me. I rented the house for him. Rupert, darling, get him.
Hey, down, boy, down. Hey, what's his name?
Rupert, get him.
Rupert! All right. Down, boy. Down, down. Miss Bain, be reasonable. Must I get a court order and send a deputy sheriff up here to get that coat?
Mr. Lewis wouldn't dare authorize that.
Haskell Furs would, I promise you.
What kind of man are you? Why don't you go foreclose a mortgage or chase an ambulance?
Why don't you go chase another man?
What?
You lost, Mr. Lewis. Give us back our coat and find yourself another angel.
Oh, you are brilliant. Brilliant and handsome.
Rupert? Peace? Attaboy. That's all right. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Nice boy.
Take a message to Mr. Perry Lewis. In case he can't figure it out, tell him this is what he gets for breaking off our engagement. Tell him it's a good lesson for him. An $8,000 lesson. Heal.
Who's that?
Diane Langley.
Oh. Come in, Miss Langley, please. Right in there.
Oh, Mr. Benedict, one more thing. Judge Tower called to cancel that luncheon appointment. He has to have an operation.
Oh, really? What's wrong with him?
He says it's an occupational condition.
Oh.
There was a telegram asking me to contact you, Mr. Benedict. I decided to drop in instead.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. I'm glad you did. Please sit down. I suppose you've read about this case.
Yes, I have. It's a terrible thing. Terrible.
You know about my part in the case?
No, not exactly.
I'm defending Larry Wilcox.
Yes?
He's in a very bad situation. He's facing a first-degree murder charge. Do you want to help him?
Well, I don't know. I guess so. He always was a nice kid. Well, what do you mean? What can I do to help him?
You know what I mean. Larry explained the whole situation to me.
He did?
Yes.
Well, suppose you explain it to me, Mr. Benedict, because I don't know what you're talking about.
Larry went to Branton to ask him to stop seeing you.
He what?
Larry said that he and Branton were rivals for you. An argument developed which led to what happened.
What's the matter with that kid? Is he crazy? Why would he tell anybody a story like that? I worked for Mr. Branton for 6 weeks, and that was it.
All of it?
Mr. Branton hired me to substitute for his secretary. She was taking a trip abroad. I knew him for exactly 6 weeks.
Did you ever go out with him?
Well, he took me to lunch occasionally, but usually with other people.
Did he take you anywhere alone?
No.
What sort of gifts did he give you?
None. It was a job, I tell you, a 9-to-5 job.
How much overtime?
You're very crude.
That boy's in the Hall of Justice on the 6th floor in a jail cell, and he's only 21 years old.
I don't care.
Well, I care. No matter how bitter you may feel about being deprived of Branton's friendship, you have no right to conceal the truth.
I have all kinds of rights. You're a lawyer, you should know that. I'm very impressed with your office. I'm very impressed with your reputation. But I won't lie for you. Larry Wilcox was someone I once went to a show with, someone I once took a walk with, but he was a little boy with very big ideas, much too big for his own good.
That's not the impression I got.
I don't care what kind of an impression you got. You can be mistaken. You're not infallible. You mean nothing to me, and he means nothing to me, and Mr. Branton meant nothing to me.
Miss Langley. This is a subpoena, and it requires you to appear in this office on the date specified to testify as an unfriendly witness for the defense. You're entitled to counsel. You may have to appear in court. A boy's life is at stake, and I can't fool around.
And you can't threaten me or arrest me or make me say anything that isn't true.
You can call your attorney, Miss Langley. You're going to need him.
Mr. Lewis?
Yeah.
All right. Your office told me you'd be here. I represent Haskell Furs.
Are you a rug merchant?
No, an attorney.
Oh, well, counselor. Hey, Charlie.
Brandy and soda, please.
Have you rescued the old rabbit?
The mink coat. Not yet. But I spoke to Miss Bain.
Oh, how come her line wasn't busy? Or was she in Bermuda for the weekend?
No, I spoke to her personally.
Oh, so you met Rupert. Listen, Blackstone, put this in the public notices for me. Mr. Perry Lewis hereafter assumes no responsibility for throats torn out by the teeth of Sir Byford of Trillingham.
Mr. Lewis, our problem is not the teeth of Sir Rupert Byford of whatever it was. Miss Bain claims that she does not have the coat on approval. She says you gave it to her. And if that's true, there's nothing we can do about it.
Well, Mr. Haskell said you could get a court order, send a sheriff for the coat.
If we do that, that'll induce Miss Bain to retain counsel. He'll tell her in very short order that if the coat is, in fact, a gift, she doesn't have to return it.
We'll talk to the sales clerk. She'll tell you. That coat went out of the store on approval.
It doesn't mention that on the sales slip.
That was a verbal understanding. Talk to her, counselor. Cross-examine her. Get her to admit it.
Well, I doubt if she will. She says she's trying to teach you a lesson for breaking off the engagement.
Oh. Well, give Miss Bain a message for me. Tell her I prize my freedom. Freedom that she's not going to deprive me of by sticking me with a bill for $6,000. Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry I kept you waiting.
Not at all. Not at all. You don't want to drink here?
I don't.
You don't. I'm not stuck, counselor. You might be, Rita might be, Haskell might be, but not me.
Bye.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd ever see you again. Hello?
Hello, Larry.
Thank you for coming.
Larry,
Yes?
I want you to tell Mr. Benedict it isn't true. I want you to tell him exactly what there was between us.
Oh, well, I did tell her.
what did you tell him?
I told him you were my girl.
No, I'm not your girl. I never was. Why did you tell him a thing like that?
Because you are.
No, I was not. He thinks the worst kind of things about me. He wants to get me into court. I don't want to go to court. I don't want to have anything to do with all this.
I never was in love with you. I'm not in love with you.
Maybe you're not now. I can understand that. But you were.
No, I wasn't. You're just a kid.
Well, I'm older than you.
But that doesn't make any difference. You're a wet-nosed kid. You're a case of arrested development. Oh, don't look at me like that. Didn't your mother ever teach you how to live life? Well, mine did, I can tell you that. And believe me, it's not a bowl of cherries where two people get together one night and start yelling love. You don't know the first thing about love. That's why you're a kid.
Diane,
What?
I love you.
Oh, for the love of...
Listen to me, please listen to me. All it took was one night. For me. I don't know about anybody else. I just know I want you. I can't help that any more than I can walk through this glass. I don't care what happens to me. I won't let them do anything to you.
Miss Bain.
Goodbye, Mr. Tabor.
I delivered your message to Mr. Lewis.
Oh, stay. In that case, enjoy my view. Would you like a drink?
No, thanks.
Well, tell me what he said.
Oh, may I give this as a peace offering?
Mm-hmm.
Rupert? Mr. Lewis said many things, but the only thing that matters is he's under the impression the price of the coat was $6,000, not $8,000.
Oh.
I stopped by Haskell's. I spoke to the sales lady, and she explained to me what you did.
What I did?
Apparently, Mr. Lewis had set a limit of $6,000. You had your heart set on an $8,000 coat, so you took the sales lady aside and induced her to tell Mr. Lewis that it was only $6,000 and promised to be responsible for the other $2,000 if Mr. Lewis wouldn't take care of it.
Mr. What did you say your name was?
Tabor. Henry Tabor.
Henry, darling, I don't deny what you've just said, not for a minute. But before we discuss such sordid details, tell me what else Perry said.
What difference does it make what he said?
I want to know. What's your impression? Is it really kaput?
You mean between you and Mr. Lewis?
Yeah.
I'd say yes. Miss Bain, I must ask you to return the coat. Otherwise, Haskell's will be obliged to press criminal charges.
Charge? Oh, Henry, darling, you are amusing.
Just across that bridge and over those hills is San Quentin, home to hundreds of men who've committed felonies. Just over those hills is Tehachapi, and down the road a piece is Corona, home to hundreds of women who've committed felonies. You have committed a felony, Miss Bain. That's a fraud.
Fraud?
Fraud. Unless that coat is returned tomorrow, Mr. Haskell will file a complaint.
Wait, Henry, darling, please. Suppose I paid the $2,000.
Can you?
If you'll give me a little time, a few months.
I spoke to Mr. Haskell before I left the shop. He said only if you pay cash.
C'est la guerre. Oh, don't look at me that way. A mink coat's very little to ask for wasting 6 years of my life.
How did you waste it?
Never mind. I should never have agreed to marry him. Even if he'd gone through with it, it wouldn't have worked. We're not exactly family types.
Oh, by the way, you do have the coat, don't you?
Certainly I have it.
Well, be sure it's back in the store by tomorrow. They close at 6.
Thanks for driving!
Benedict.
Well, hello.
Never expected to see me again, I guess, huh? Are you going in there?
Yes. Preliminary hearing for Larry Wilcox.
Is he in there now?
No. They'll be bringing him down from upstairs in a few minutes.
I went upstairs yesterday to see him behind that glass. He never should have told me he was there. Then I'd have been all right. Stupid kid.
I don't think he's stupid. I think he's tormented and confused and weary.
Well, he isn't the only one. I've been thinking about jumping off the bridge. I wouldn't do it, though, but I've been thinking about it. Because I'm in love with a dead man.
Ed Branton?
Dead or not, I love him. Whatever you think of me, I know how to do that. Isn't that what you wanted to hear me say?
I wanted to hear you tell the truth.
Oh, it's the truth, Master. Let me tell you, it's the truth. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I've known a dozen different guys in a dozen different towns, but I never met a man until I met Ed Branton. With his gray hair and his pot and his wife and his grandchildren. Doesn't that beat everything? He made me feel like I was something. I went for him the way that goofy kid up behind the glass goes for me. It's about all we have in common, though, but that's enough. I know exactly how he feels. I shouldn't want to kill him, but I don't. I just feel sorry for him. What I'm telling you, does it help?
I think it will. I'll discuss it with the deputy district attorney. I'll explain to him that the reason you haven't come forward till now is because of the obviously unsavory attitude of the newspapers.
Oh, I don't care about the newspapers. I don't care what they say about me. I have a mother who runs a saloon in Fresno, and it's all been said about her before.
What is your reason for coming forward now?
Ed Branton's family. He had one. A real one. Tell me something, champ. How are you gonna get around that? What are they gonna do when they find out the head of the clan was fooling around with cheap, rotten little me?
The people are ready to present evidence with which we intend to prove that a crime has been committed and that the defendant is responsible for the crime.
I beg a week's continuance in this matter, Your Honor.
What's the problem, Mr. Benedict?
We intend to withdraw our former plea, Your Honor. We need time to consider a new and different plea.
On the basis of former reliable association with defense counsel, the state has no objection, Your Honor.
All right, continuance granted, Mr. Benedict, until 1 week from this day.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Any other business to be brought before this court concerning this matter?
I'll see you in a while. Have you got a minute, Marty?
Well, I intended to spend all morning here. I guess I've got a minute.
I hope we all have a minute in this matter, Marty. Lieutenant, I know you don't think that my client went to that house to commit burglary or robbery. You found the gun that was used. You know by now that it belonged to Ed Branton. You know that there was no evidence of forcible entry to the Branton house.
We weren't going to use that for 1 minute, Sam.
What's on your mind, Sam?
The reason that he went to that house. Sooner or later, you'll get around to a girl named Diane Langley, Lieutenant. She is the answer. All that I ask is that after you question her, you talk with me.
Where's she now?
I can have her in your office by 3 o'clock this afternoon, Marty.
It's all right with me.
I'll be there.
Sam, I'll go along with you just this far.
I hope that's far enough, Marty. See you, fellas.
I
want your permission to tell the district attorney you'll plead guilty to manslaughter.
What does that mean?
Look, son, the evidence indicates that you fired that gun in the heat of passion, which under the law is punishable by up to 10 years imprisonment. That's known as manslaughter. Practically speaking, we can think in terms of 4 or 5 years in prison. It's the only chance I see for you. Well?
I don't want a chance. You know what they say around here? They say when you commit murder, you're really trying to kill yourself. You know, I think they're right.
I think they're wrong.
I think I deserve to die.
That's good dramatics, but you don't deserve to die. No human being, no matter how ridiculous or evil, deserves to be put to death by another human being. And no human being, no matter how miserable or guilt-ridden or disappointed in love, really wants to die.
I do, Mr. Benedict.
No, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. If that chair that you're sitting in were the one over at San Quentin, and you were strapped down to it, and the stethoscope had taped to your heart, and that hood was over your head, and the door was closed and sealed, and you heard the pellets drop into the acid, do you know what you'd do? You don't have to tell me. You'd pray and hold your breath, and you'd fight for life. You'd fight for every second of your life. That's what they all do. That's what you do. Do I have your permission?
I went along with the continuance. I listened to that girl out there. I don't like any part of this, Sam.
Who does like it? Who would like it? Marty, you and I are officers of this court. You don't want to convict that boy on insufficient evidence any more than I want to see it happen.
It isn't insufficient from our viewpoint. What that girl said just strengthens our case, Sam. You know that.
I know we don't have a defendant who broke into that house to commit burglary. I know we don't have a defendant who went in there with a gun to commit robbery. What do we have? Marty, what is this case really all about?
It isn't self-defense, Sam. He had plenty of time to leave unharmed and unchallenged. Instead, he fired deliberately with malice aforethought.
Did he? Or was he goaded and badgered and pushed? If he had brought his own gun, if he had been lying in wait or used poison or torture, if his actions had been deliberate or willful or perpetrated in the commission of a felony, then I wouldn't be in here talking to you. I don't want to put that girl on the stand, Marty, but I'll put her there if I have to. And the city and the press and the whole country will hear about a sordid affair between Edward Branton and a 20-year-old girl. I'd put her there and I'd get her testimony, and I think it'd save Larry Wilcox's life. But I know it'd destroy 13 other lives. I'm talking about Branton's widow and his children and their children. As things stand right now, they'll remember him, and the city will remember him for a life of good works and fine service to the community. I don't honestly see, Marty, where it'll serve the interests of justice or this community to fill the papers with exaggerated accounts of the one and only folly of his life. I beg you, Marty, don't force me to hurt 13 innocent people on what you can see here and now is justice. Manslaughter. Yeah.
Well, I'll have to talk to the district attorney about it, Sam. And you know how he feels about things like this. I'll let you know.
Miss,
Yes, miss?
I want to see Mr. Tabor.
Well, I think he's just about to leave. May I help you?
Oh, there you are, Henry, darling.
Miss Bain, what are you doing here? I asked you to return that coat to Haskell's.
Oh, I decided to let you do that. I'm not going to make another trip.
Very well.
I'd like a receipt. I don't want to get caught up in any more legal technicalities.
Receipt. Trudy, would you make up a receipt, please?
Oh, don't be so smug. Yes, you. You're all alike.
Attorneys?
Attorneys, doctors, shoemakers, bank tellers, bookies. Men.
Mr. Tabor.
Thank you. Miss Bain.
Thank you. You're all so smug, such know-it-alls. What do? We play up to you. We act as though we think you're so terribly brilliant. We act as though we love to be treated like property. Scurry around like idiots. Buying clothes, getting our hair fixed, making sure we look absolutely knockout, whether we're going to a formal dinner or painting a fence. But you, well, most of you think being male is a license to be a slob. And the baseball game. I don't know how many baseball games I've sat through trying to seem interested in whether Potofsky breaks out of a slump. But the worst thing of all is that ego. You demand all kinds of respect because you're big, strong, and male. But the first little thing that goes wrong, you come crying to us and want to be mothered.
Are you talking about me?
You, Perry Lewis, the whole bunch of you. I hope you all shrivel up and die.
That was Miss Bain. I persuaded her to be reasonable. Well,
so I noticed. Well, at least you got the coat.
Right. I better get rid of it on my way home. Good night, Sam.
Good night.
You need me, Mr. Benedict?
No, beat it, Trudy. Thank you.
Night.
Night. Garfield 10713. Hello, Marty. Thank you for letting me know tonight.
I was about to leave town, and I thought I'd better talk to you first.
I just talked to the DA. He's agreed to a manslaughter. You can leave town. But wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever you think of yourself, I want you to know what I think of you. And you keep this in mind, young lady. Today, you've saved a man's life. There aren't many human beings who can say that. And I have the greatest respect for you because of it.
Thank you, Mr. Benedict. Bye.
Goodbye.
Yes,